In this video, we're going to go over the basics of Qualtrics. And we're going to start by programming a demographic block, and we should all work on programming this together because we're all going to need a block like this in our survey. So what I want you to do for this video is follow along with me and create a block or a survey just like the survey I'm going to create in Qualtrics, and that way we all have it programmed up, and we'll go over some more details later about other things you can do in Qualtrics, but for this one, let's all work on this together. So getting started with Qualtrics, Qualtrics is a free survey platform that is offered by Fordham. It's not free if you're not a Fordham student, but it's free for Fordham students. It's all web-based and doesn't really require any advanced programming skills. So to get started, we're going to go to the Fordham Qualtrics URL, which is fordham.qualtrics.com. If you're not logged in, this will ask you to log in. I'm already logged in, so it's just going to take me to the Qualtrics page. And we'll see in a second. This is going to load up all the surveys I've ever worked on in Qualtrics. So this is a list of all the projects I've done. You see I've done many projects in Qualtrics over my years at Fordham. So the first thing we're going to want to do, since for most of you this is going to be blank and we're going to need to start with a totally new project, we're going to click Create New Project. So click up here in the upper right, it says Create New Project. So that's going to bring us to a screen where it gives us some options about what type of project we want to create. It's going to think we want to do a survey by default because that's what most projects are, and that is indeed what we want to do. So we're going to click Survey. Now we want to give our project a name. So I'm going to name my project Mark Himmelstein's Research Methods Survey. And then we're going to click Get Started. So once we do that, it's going to take a second to load up. It's going to give us a fresh project. And so this is what the home page for a blank survey looks like. Now, the way Qualtrics works is it breaks your survey into blocks. And blocks are essentially blocks of questions. So each block can contain any number of questions. And then the block structure allows you to sort of manipulate the order and flow of the survey a little bit more easily. And we're going to start just by programming a demographics block, which once again, we're all going to need this in our surveys. So I would like it if everyone could follow along and just program along the exact same block that I'm about to do. Just create this in your own Qualtrics survey as well. Just give it your name instead of mine, and that way we all have this ready. So the first thing we want to do is give our block a unique name. It starts as default question block, but we're going to change this to say demographics. And then we're going to be ready to start programming the elements or questions of the demographics block. So the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to change this first question to be instructions about what the demographics block is. So right now it defaults to a multiple choice question, but to change to instructions, we can click up here in the change questions type up in the upper right hand corner. And then we're just going to switch to where it says descriptive text. And this just lets us write some instructions or something like that at the beginning of a block if that's what we want. So here, we should all put in the phrase, "We will now collect some information about you." And there's our instructions. So this is going to be the first item that people see when they start our survey here. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to Create New Question. And the next question is going to be our first actual demographic question, and it's going to be about what gender people identify as. So we're going to put in the question, how do you identify your gender? Now, you're going to see in a second, Qualtrics is going to try to get clever on us, and we're going to have to make a modification. So when I'm done with this, Qualtrics is automatically going to enter the possible responses male or female. Now, this is a sort of traditional response to this question, of course, but we at Fordham want to be a little bit more inclusive, and we want to make sure that people can identify their gender however they prefer, and not everyone prefers to identify as male or female. So we're going to add an additional option. So to add an additional option to our multiple choice question, we go over here to, again, right under the change question type, there is an option that says choices, and we're going to add a third choice. And so this is going to come in as blank, and so we have to modify it. So we're just going to say this is other for now. And then to allow people to enter whatever response they want, what we can do is this little down arrow next to the option gives us a menu. And then the first option on this menu is allow text entry. So if we click that, it's going to add a little text box, and then people can enter whatever they prefer under other if they select other. So they can identify their gender however they like. Now, the other thing we want to make sure that we do is we're going to do this for all of our questions in this survey in Qualtrics. You don't always do this. But we're down here on this menu on the right-hand side, if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see that there is an option under validation options called forced response, and we want to check this box. What this means is that when someone takes our survey, they can't skip this question. If they try to skip it, then it will give them an error message and say that they have to answer it. We're not always going to do this when we're doing surveys in Qualtrics, but for this survey, we want all of our questions to have the response forced, meaning it can't be skipped. So now we're going to create an additional question. So this next question is going to be about what year everyone is in their Fordham careers. Now, because this is going to have several different options, it's going to have 5 in total. We're actually going to first want to change the number of choices to 5. Well, let's write the question first. So, what year of college are you at Fordham? So we're going to want 5 options. So we go to choices and change that to 5. Now this makes this question a little bit long. So as you can see, by default, the multiple choices go from top to bottom, but we can actually switch it to save a little space, and we can make them go from side to side by switching the position option to horizontal. This is sort of a matter of style or preference, but we wanted to show you what this looked like. So now we can have this nice horizontal set of questions. So we can start by just entering our different levels of school people are at Fordham. So we start with freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, and then the 5th one is going to be graduate. And then once again, we want to go down and we want to click this force response button. So now we're going to move to our next question. And this is going to be about racial and ethnic background. So the question is going to be, what is your race/ethnicity? And we're going to add, please choose all that apply. So for this, there's going to be 7 total options. So the first thing we want to do is change the number of options to 7. And note that we said, please choose all that apply. So we want people to be able to select more than one response for this. And the way we can do that is under this little answers menu here on the right-hand side. We can change it from single answer to multiple answer. And you know when you do that, it changes the circles next to each option to squares, and that indicates people can check more than one option. And then we're going to enter for these American, Indian, Native American, Arab, American, Middle Eastern, Asian American, or Pacific Islander, Black or African American, Hispanic or Latin American, white, Caucasian, Anglo, not Hispanic. And then once again, we're going to give an other option, which means that we want to allow them to include a text entry. So again, we use the menu associated with this option and click Allow Text Entry. And then we have to remember, before we move on, we want to add the forced response validation. So then we go to the next question. And in our case, the next question is going to be a free answer option about what state people are from, or what city and state and country. So it's going to be about their geographic background. And this is going to be a free answer question because we want people to be able to put in whatever hometown they have. We don't want to include multiple choices. We want them to just be able to enter whatever they want. So we're going to go up to this right-hand menu where we say change question type, and we're going to switch it over to from multiple choice to text entry. And that allows them to freely enter whatever text they want. And the question is going to be, where is your hometown? Include the town, city, state, and if outside USA, country as well. And then we're going to have one more question in the demographics block that gives us a little bit more detail about people's demographic background, about the background of their hometown. And that's going to be what the population was like. So in this case, we're going to write which best describes the population of your hometown. And we're going to want 4 answers here. And the answers are going to be urban, suburban, rural, or other. And we're not going to put a free answer with our other here just because most people will probably choose one of the first 3, and there isn't really another clear class about what it could mean, and we might get some weird answers if we include that. So then we're just going to click force response, and that's our demographics.